And so if an individual, child, adult, whomever, is not able to emotionally regulate, they are not able to function. So if our children aren't able to function, then they're not able to learn.
You're listening to the NAESP Principal Podcast, where school leaders connect around real challenges, real experiences, and real growth. In today's episode, Whole Child, Whole School, Emotional Regulation as a Foundation for Learning. Principal Dr. Sharon Porter talks with Katy Kennedy and David Griffith about why emotional regulation is at the heart of every student's success. From classroom strategies to advocacy for more support services, this conversation explores how principals can lead schools where both students and adults feel safe, supported, and ready to learn. Let's get started.
Welcome to the NAESP Principal Podcast. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter, principal of Allenwood Elementary in Temple Hills, Maryland, and your host for today. I am truly excited to welcome Katy Kennedy, principal of Washington Middle School in Glendive, Montana. She's also a fellow at the NAESP Center for Middle Level Leadership, as well as Mr. David Griffith, Associate Executive Director in Advocacy and Policy at NAESP. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We are really excited talking about whole education and emotional regulation. We know that whole child education goes far beyond academics. Its approach nurtures every aspect of a child's development. So, Katy, how do you feel emotional regulation fits into the concept of whole child education?
Emotional regulation is critical for education, for daily life, for just existing in our world. And so if an individual, child, adult, whomever, is not able to emotionally regulate, they are not able to function. So if our children aren't able to function, then they're not able to learn.
This is so true. And you know, when we say a student or member of a staff is unregulated, what does that really mean?
Well, there's different levels of emotional regulation. And so one of the first more significant levels is where we are like in the survival state. Okay. And that's when we're like, are we safe? We go into flight, freeze, and that basic lizard brain part is all that it's worried about. It's not worried about anything else. And so when you think about that, that's when we have people yelling. And I say people because adults impacts adults as well. But for children, they could be yelling, screaming, totally freezing and shutting down completely. They feel threatened and they don't feel safe. And then the next level would be like, are they loved? Like that would be the next level of emotional regulation where it becomes their brain is able to conceptually get into some of the emotional concepts of it. And so like, are they being judged? Are they feeling that they are not in a safe place and so that they can express themselves or talk or relate to others? And so in that type of situation, a child or an adult would be not make eye contact. They would have a hard time answering questions. You're not getting that verbal and physical aggression, but they are not in a spot where they feel safe, but they may not feel loved.
Wow. David, what kind of supports do you think schools need to address emotional regulation?
Oh gosh, well, there's quite a expansive list on that. But I mean, the one that immediately comes to mind listening to Katy is our school counselors. That we just don't have enough school counselors to help teachers in the classroom with a lot of these issues. And I want to say too, we're talking about the emotional side of things, which is very important, and we do need school counselors for that. We have, a shortage right now. The School Counselor Association has set a goal of 250 students for every one school counselor. No state currently meets that. I think the national average is like 375, and there are some states that like 600 students per school counselor. But I think in addition to the emotional regulation and the social emotional learning, it's also about academic success, and also just sustaining and improving the school culture. That what Katy was talking about in terms of a safe, nurturing learning environment, one in which the students feel safe and secure and seen and loved, that you were talking about.
Absolutely. You talked about the need for school counseling. That's so real. And I want to applaud because there are several school districts who are actually going a bit further, hiring mental health clinicians as well as social workers in addition to the school counselor. And it's needed.
Absolutely. And I think, now we're coming well out of COVID, right? We're coming out of the pandemic. But I do think there's been an aha moment in terms of the public, and particularly parents, the appreciation that they see and know about the need for these roles. But also, it's unfortunate, the irony that we're also seeing a lot of shortages in these roles. And a lot, we talk about these educator shortages writ large, but in a lot of cases, it's these support personnel that are going wanting, and particularly in rural areas as well. So, I mean, those are really sort of key issues where we see the importance of it now more than ever, and yet we just can't fill that pipeline.
Can't fill it.
Well, and it's like a post-COVID situation, like COVID didn't cause these situations, but they accelerated them. Like, for example, when I look at our data, our student social awareness is at the lowest, and then our students' emotional regulation is next. And it's a significant deficit for our students. And I'm in a rural area. And so, and also in the middle level. And so our counselor struggles because she has multiple roles as a counselor, and that maybe an elementary school principal doesn't have, or counselor doesn't have, or high school counselors also have different roles that they have as well. And so we're very lucky to have the counselor that we have, and she's amazing. But this is when, like, it's so critical for us to support the adults in the building, not just like our counselors and even administrators, but anyone who works with children, to help support our children in regulating, learning how to regulate, and model for them and how to do so. Because we could, not purposely, but we could accidentally create a situation where we actually make a situation where a child is emotionally unregulated into a much more significant situation. And then there's repair that has to happen after that as well.
And what I'm seeing also is the need for that support younger and younger. I'm in elementary, and as young as 4 in our pre-K classes, we're finding that support is desperately needed.
Yeah, and it has to be taught, right? And it can be taught, and it takes different skills and tools to teach the various levels of ages of how to emotionally regulate, because it's a skill in which we can learn. And the cause of that dysregulation could be so many factors that go into that, like trauma. They came into school. That's one of the hardest transitions, from home to school for adults and children. And so, like, that could just totally have them spiral into a situation where they're dysregulated. And so, with so many factors, and some of them we have no control over, so then our job is then to help teach and co-regulate with these children.
Absolutely.
For principals, emotional regulation isn't just about supporting students. It's about carrying the weight of many roles while staying grounded yourself. Recently retired Principal Nathaniel Waller Martin from Enterprise, Alabama, shares what that really looks like.
We have a wonderful opportunity. Everything that we do each and every day to be able to work with children and to help them and shape them and the experiences that we have. But needless to say, it is overwhelming. And there are times when we wish that everyone outside of our field and those who don't do what we do each and every day see all of the things that we have to encounter or address, whether it's dealing with a child's parents who are going through a nasty divorce that pulls out the legal end of the situation, when you feel like you need to be a lawyer sometimes and have a law degree, or if you're dealing with a child who is just simply having problems reading and you feel like your teacher, your reading specialist, and everyone has done everything they can. That's a very serious problem. We deal with children. We deal with people. We're not dealing with computers. We're not dealing with lumber. We're dealing with a living, breathing human product. And we have to be not just necessarily a teacher or a principal. We have to be a mother. We have to be a counselor. We have to be a nurse. We have to be a bank teller. We feel like be a lawyer sometimes. So there are a lot of hats that educators wear.
NAESP offers resources to help principals strengthen whole child supports, from SEL strategies to school climate surveys to advocacy for expanded counseling. You can explore these anytime by visiting NAESP.org and searching for Whole Child or Student Wellness in the Resource Hub. Now, back to the conversation with Dr. Sharon Porter and her guests.
So, Katy, just moving on, how important is emotional regulation to the success of not just the individual student, but the school as a whole?
So, David, I alluded to that a little bit earlier, but it's so important into the foundation of the culture and the climate of the school. So if we have adults that are unregulated, we're going to have children that are unregulated, and that creates a place where kids do not feel safe, or adults, and they do not feel loved. And if we don't have that foundation, then how can you have a positive school culture where kids want to interact with the adults, and the adults want to interact with the children, and adults want to interact with each other, and we all want to work together towards a common goal? And so it just really can create so much tension, labeling, and environment in which it's a lot of blaming and not supporting each other.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to add in there what you said about where we're seeing more and more with children as young as 4. We're seeing this with children as young as 4, issues with that. I do think, again, a silver lining in this is, again, a greater awareness of these issues and the need to support students, but also, as you're saying about supporting the teachers in that regard, but also the teachers and educators need these supports as well. And we really need to ask them to model what we're trying to impart with the students as well, that I think will pay dividends, not just for the classroom, but for the school and for themselves in terms of social, emotional awareness. Self-care is hugely important. And I think, again, speaks to the larger issue about how a whole school can really model this, but in all, a rising tide lifts all boats in the school, not just the students, but all the adults as well.
Absolutely. Because what staff member wants to work in an environment that doesn't have a positive culture and climate? And that is everybody. And, we all become dysregulated. There's key factors. How long are we dysregulated? And what do we do when we're dysregulated? Yeah. And it happens to everyone else. All of us. Like, I could be waiting in line for food to go, and it's taking way longer than I expected to, where is my emotion? Yeah, yes. And so then it's like, okay, I needed to practice my breathing and be like, okay, I have no control over this. This is the way it's going to go. And so it's not a judgment of people. If people become dysregulated, I think that also, like when we look at that in supports of teachers, is that we care about our kids, right? And we want what's best for them. And it's very challenging for some people to not take a student's actions when they are dysregulated personally. And so when we talk about the self-care of teachers, it's Q-tip. We got to quit taking it personally, because like we are not the reason why
Right, exactly.
whatever situation is happening. And so that helps with the self-care, so that we're not taking it home with us. We're not sleeping because of it, and that we can help be a problem solver instead of taking that blame or putting it on somebody else.
Wow. And David, finally, what kinds of efforts will NAESP make that broadly address the whole child education and specifically wellness?
Sure. Well, a lot of this is based on wellness. So we're doing a lot more work on a whole child education, a set of policies to support students and educators, and particularly our members, the K-8 school principals. And there's a number of ways. I mean, I like to say an elementary school education or a K-8 education is a whole child education. So our members are already doing this, whether they sort of know it or not, or can put a name to it. A couple of things that come to mind in terms of what we're going to be working on is so a full-time nurse in every school. Amazingly, people don't know this, but more than a third of schools currently don't have a full-time nurse. And what that means in terms of student and staff wellness, to administer prescription drugs, to manage chronic health conditions. Unfortunately, there's a lot of issues with student asthma, student diabetes, that sort of thing. Things like universal school meals. That was a big thing coming out of COVID, during COVID, and unfortunately pulled back at the federal level, but a lot of states now have started to step up in this regard, and we're going to be continue to push that at the federal level to make it national in scope. And then I also think just one other thing is this is something that the school principals can take on. Doesn't necessarily need a policy, but school climate surveys.
Yes.
Who better to tell the adults how kids are feeling in school, whether they feel seen, whether they feel safe and secure, than the students, to find out, ask them how, what is their experience in school, and then not just take the survey. It's one thing to administer the survey and then to act on the results.
Utilize the feedback.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been amazing, David and Katy. We want to say thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your passion for this topic of whole child education and emotional regulation. I would like to give you an opportunity to share your contact information should individuals want to follow and contact you. So, Katy?
Absolutely. So thanks for having me. And this is an area we're all just growing and getting better at. My email is katyforsyth@me.com. And that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. Or if you want to contact me through the Center for Middle Level Leaders on the NAESP website, feel free to do that as well. And just know that we all become emotionally unregulated. And so we just need help in getting us back into that place where our brain can function in the daily life and be successful.
Thank you. And David?
Sure. So you can find our policy and advocacy resources about whole child education at naesp.org, and you can reach me directly via email at dgriffith@naesp.org.
Awesome. Audience, we want to say thank you for joining another wonderful episode of the NAESP Principal Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter, for this episode, and continue to follow NAESP for more groundbreaking content. Thank you.
To explore more leadership supports and communities that help you succeed, visit NASP.org. The NASP Principal Podcast is produced by the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Learn more about our community and membership at NASP.org. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the NAESP Principal Podcast and share it with a colleague. Together, we're building stronger schools and stronger leaders.